You felt it. A baby cries somewhere nearby, and your whole body tenses before you even know why. Now imagine that exact sound could get your entire family killed. 90,000 years ago, in the hills of what is now Ethiopia, a family lies pressed flat against the cold ground. Something is hunting, close enough to hear them breathe. Everyone here learned one rule before they could even walk. Stay silent or die. Not quiet. Silent. A snapped twig can end a bloodline. A cough can end a bloodline. One member of this family never learned that rule and could not learn it even if her life depended on it. She is 3 weeks old. And right now, in the worst possible moment, she is about to cry. For almost all of human history, this wasn't a hypothetical. Early humans lived in small bands, often no more than 25 to 50 people, moving through landscapes crawling with predators built to specialize in exactly this kind of prey. Leopards that could climb into a sleeping camp without waking a single adult. Hyenas that hunted in packs and tracked by sound as much as by smell. Even other bands of humans competing for the same shrinking hunting grounds could be drawn by the wrong noise at the wrong time. A single, loud, sustained cry didn't just risk one baby. It could reveal the exact location of an entire sleeping group. The elders, the hunters, every child, to something that had been listening in the dark for exactly this kind of mistake. There was no locked door to retreat behind, no wall to muffle the sound, no way to undo it once it had traveled across open ground. In a world where staying alive meant staying unheard, evolution built humans to be almost frighteningly good at silence. Almost. Here's the paradox that sat unsolved for decades. Natural selection is ruthless. It deletes traits that get you killed. A trait that broadcasts your location to predators night after night, generation after generation, should have vanished within a few thousand years. And yet the human infant cry didn't disappear. If anything, it got louder, harder to ignore, and stranger than almost any other sound in nature. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why evolution let something this dangerous survive, and what it reveals about the brutal bargain every early human family had to make just to keep their children alive. Start with a simple comparison. Chimpanzee infants, our closest living relatives, almost never cry the way human babies do. When a baby chimp is distressed, it makes soft, short calls, and it clings to its mother's body almost from the moment it's born, riding along silently as she moves. Gorilla and orangutan infants are similar. Quiet, clingy, self-soothing through contact. Even when a mother chimp is 30 feet up in a tree foraging, her infant doesn't need to cry to stay safe. It simply holds on. Human infants are the outlier. A human baby's cry can reach the same volume as a smoke alarm. It arrives in an acoustic range specifically hard for the human brain to tune out, activating the same alarm circuitry in an adult's brain that responds to danger, not comfort. And unlike other apes, human infants can't cling. They can't hold on to their mother's fur, because we don't have thick fur to hold on to anymore, and their muscles are too underdeveloped to grip and ride along even if we did. A newborn human can barely lift its own head. It has no way to signal hunger, cold, or fear except one blunt, unmistakable tool. A baby chimp is, in a sense, built to travel quietly, insulated by its own grip strength and its mother's body. A human baby has no such insulation. It is built to be carried, watched, and, when something goes wrong, heard loudly, immediately. No matter who's listening in the dark. In the 1970s, anthropologists studying the Ache, a hunter-gatherer people in Paraguay, documented something chilling. In the hardest years, when a band couldn't safely carry or feed a crying, ailing infant during a dangerous trek through hostile territory, some communities faced impossible decisions about which children could realistically survive the journey, and which could not. This wasn't cruelty. It was arithmetic, run in real time, under real threat, with no margin for sentiment. A loud, needy infant in the wrong moment wasn't just a risk to itself. It was a live variable in whether the entire group made it through the week, and everyone walking that trail understood exactly what was at stake. Picture an actual hunting band, roughly 60,000 years ago, asleep in the open, no walls, no locked doors, just distance and darkness between them and whatever is out there. Predation on early humans and their children was not rare, and it was not abstract. Fossil evidence from sites in South Africa shows tooth marks from big cats on the bones of early hominins, including juveniles, preserved in caves alongside the bones of the very predators that likely killed them. Leopards in particular are ambush specialists that can carry prey heavier than themselves up into trees, and they hunt primarily by stalking silently and listening for exactly the kind of sound a distressed infant makes. A crying infant at 2 in the morning isn't just annoying, it's a beacon. It tells a predator exactly where the softest, easiest target in the group is lying, and it tells every other predator within earshot the same thing at the same moment. There is no second chance to take that signal back. Anthropologists estimate that infant and child mortality in Paleolithic populations may have run as high as 40 to 50% before adulthood. And predation was one of several serious contributors alongside disease, exposure, and starvation. In that world, a group's survival depended on collective invisibility, night after night, for years without a single failure. One infant's cry could, in theory, undo everyone's carefully maintained silence in a matter of seconds, and everyone in the group knew it. So why didn't natural selection simply breed the loud cry out of us, the same way it removed other dangerous traits? The answer comes from an idea developed by anthropologist Sarah Blaffer Hrdy, built around what's called the cooperative breeding hypothesis. Human infants are what biologists call altricial, spectacularly helpless at birth, far more helpless and for far longer than any other primate. A human baby cannot regulate its own body temperature well, cannot feed itself, cannot move to safety, and won't be able to do any of that for years. That level of helplessness meant a human infant's single greatest threat wasn't only the predator outside the camp, it was neglect, starvation, or simply being forgotten in the chaos of daily survival. A silent baby that no one notices in time can die just as easily as a loud one that attracts a predator. So evolution had to solve two opposite problems at once. Stay quiet enough to avoid predators, but loud enough to guarantee that a caregiver responds before it's too late. The human cry evolved as a kind of biological alarm calibrated to be the second option. It's not random noise. Its pitch, its rhythm, and its unpredictability are specifically shaped to be almost impossible for a nearby adult's brain to ignore, while a soft coo or whimper is far easier to sleep through. In other words, the cry isn't a design flaw. It's a high-stakes gamble encoded into every human infant. Risk revealing the group's location to a predator in exchange for guaranteeing that at least one adult, a mother, a father, an aunt, a grandmother, in these highly cooperative multi-caregiver human bands, drops everything and responds within seconds. This is the part that made human children different from almost every other primate on Earth. Chimpanzee infants are raised almost entirely by their mothers alone. Human infants, according to Hrdy's research, were raised by an entire network of caregivers, sometimes called alloparents, older siblings, grandmothers, aunts, even unrelated members of the band. That network only works, though, if it can respond fast. A cooperative system with 10 potential caregivers is only useful if the alarm reaches all 10 at once, loud enough to cut through sleep, work, or distraction. A weak, easily missed whimper defeats the entire point of having a village. So the cry had to be loud enough to guarantee a response from a crowd, not just a single mother. In a species where child-rearing was shared across many adults, the odds of a fast rescue usually outweighed the odds of a predator being close enough to hear and fast enough to strike before someone reached the child. Most nights, the gamble paid off, and on the rare night it didn't, the entire group paid the price for everyone else's children surviving. A brutal, unspoken trade that no one in the band could ever fully escape. Back in those Ethiopian hills, the infant cries. For one unbearable second, nothing moves. Then her mother's hand is already there, pulling her into her chest, muffling the sound against her own body, rocking, shushing, doing in an instant what 400,000 years of evolution trained her to do the moment that specific pitch hit her ears. An older sibling shifts closer without being told to. A second pair of hands, ready if the first ones fail. Somewhere out in the dark, a predator pauses, listens, and, this time, moves on, unwilling to gamble against a group that is clearly already woken. The gamble paid off. It always came down to speed. How fast the alarm sounded, and how fast someone answered it, before the sound had time to travel any further than it needed to. That single exchange, repeated in camps and caves and open plains, across the entire span of human prehistory, thousands upon thousands of times in families that never knew each other and never will, is a small piece of the reason any of us are here to hear a baby cry at all. The next time you hear a baby crying somewhere, on a plane, through a wall, across a quiet room, and feel your attention snap toward it, whether you want it to or not, that's not modern-day annoyance. That's a 200,000-year-old survival alarm still wired into your brain, doing exactly the job it was built to do. In a world that no longer has leopards waiting outside the door, the danger is gone. The alarm never got the message. If this kind of hidden survival logic behind everyday human behavior is something you want more of, subscribe, because next time, we're looking at another ancient trait that should have gotten us killed, but somehow made us the last humans standing.